Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Curtis Selby, your tired midnight blogger who blogs, in this case, at 10:18 p.m. I may actually be up till midnight. I am tired, but I'm very worried. I'm very stressed, and it's mostly for personal reasons, but here I am. I usually like to read before I go to bed. And I know that the wise course would be to just read to myself until I get tired and then go to bed. But I feel the need. I'm I'm lonely, which is, I know, foolishness to admit and not a great way to begin a live stream, but I really wish someone. I have my dog, and she's sweet, and I love you. I love you, Cassie. I love you. Yes. If if I were in better straits, I would just turn on my camera and let you see Cassie. But she's lying down like the good girl that she is, looking up at me with her sweet brown eyes. And I'm so grateful for her. But tonight, I am really wishing that someone was sharing this house with me. There's actually someone I have in mind, which is maybe too much to admit. But I will. So, because I feel I'm at a crossroads, and because I feel like it is long since time that I actually figured my life out and actually started trying to do something that pertains to my calling instead of simply meandering through life and just chasing a dollar and going everywhere that I don't fit and ending up in the end disappointing people because I am the round peg and they want to put me into the square hole. I once had a video. I once had a video that was taken down by YouTube, and hopefully YouTube doesn't take me down again because I'm just stating this as a statement. I'm not threatening anyone. I promise. I promise. But I made the statement that I was the round peg being beaten down into the square hole, and YouTube evidently thought I was threatening someone and took that video down. So hopefully YouTube doesn't take this one down. I hope that that was okay to put in here in the context. I promise I'm going to try to be a good boy, but I'm bringing all this up. Now I'm banging into my desk. I'm bringing all this up because I'm a book person instead of a person of common sense. I'm reading about the job hunt and about finding your calling. And the book, I eventually hope to get to the What Color is My Parachute, which I have read most of before, and yet here I am. Not the book's fault, it's mine. But right now I'm reading Zen and the Art of Making a Living. And I'm loving this book. He starts. I won't go too deeply into it, but one of the things he does moderately early on in the book is to get you to expound on your values, basically figure out what you believe, and then you end up making a mission statement, which I had one before, and I find that the one that I've ended up with after all the thinking is only a very few words different from my earlier one. If anyone's curious, it's that I seek to give and receive God's love by being all I can, learning all I can, teaching what I know, sharing and writing relevant, entertaining stories, facts, theories, and ideas with the aim of lifting up myself, those I love, and any downtrodden soul who will listen as I learn throughout my life the meaning of peace, prosperity, love, and enlightenment. One of the other things he had me do was to write a personal bill of rights and responsibilities. I don't want to bore you, but I know one of my best friends thought it was good, so I will share it here. Everyone has the right to say, think, and believe whatever they want to. That is the first of the personal Bill of Rights. Second, everyone has the responsibility for what they say, think, and believe. Third, we have the right to love whoever and whatever we choose to love. 4, loving someone does not mean owning someone or being responsible for that person. 5, if you love someone, show it with as many of the love languages as you can. 6, everyone should seek God, enlightenment, and awakening in the way they are inspired to. 7, just because someone seeks God in a different way does not mean either of you is closer to God. 8, behind love and enlightenment, I believe freedom, liberty, and independence are the most important things. 9, if you are not healthy, you are not free. Neither enlightenment nor love requires your sickness. 10, be grateful for what you have. It can end any day. So enjoy what you have today. And I guess one of the reasons why I'm on here being all melodramatic and what the hell is this, Curtis? I I know that I'll probably live another 30 years. If genetics is any part of it, I've probably got another 30 years, but I have seen so clearly how fragile life is, how it can end just so quickly. And even if life doesn't end, there are horrible things that can happen that lead you down a road where sometimes, I mean, again, I want to be careful because YouTube won't be kind to some of the things that I want to say, but the road can make you very worn out. It can be very discouraging to put in so much effort into whether it's a family or a business or your own creative journey, your search for God, your prayers, and you end up feeling like not only did you not accomplish much, it seems like you dug yourself a hole. And you look at the things and you know, well, some of it's my fault. There are mistakes I made here and there, but God, if you're up there, is it really, is this really what I deserve? And maybe deserves got nothing to do with it, as Clint Eastwood said so eloquently in The Unforgiven. But at least until somebody shows up. And if nobody shows up, you know what? I don't blame them. I didn't announce this. I just went on at random. all of you have to work. Unless people show up, I'm definitely not going to be on here longer than midnight. But I want to read some of this. I want to share some of this. And maybe it will resonate, and maybe it won't. But hopefully, just the effort to share something with the community. I have 78 followers now. Thank you very much to Troy, Netter, Deleted Scenes, Fade. There's so many people. Obviously there's at least 78, and frankly more. So thank you very much for that. That's fantastic. So the subject that I'm reading about now is pointing to purpose. And I know I'd read the Christian book, Purpose Driven Life, which was one of the things that helped launch the TEDx series was the author's speech about how your life has to have purpose. And it's true. One of the problems I have right now, it's not as bad as when I was a youth. I can focus a lot better as an older man than I could as a younger man, but it's very tempting sometimes just to be a nihilist and to just think, well, that nothing matters. Anything I do is just wrong and bad and stupid and foolish. And of course, none of that's healthy. None of that's helpful. So I would, refer you to the Purpose-Driven Life if you're a Christian. If you're not a Christian, I would refer you to Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And honestly, even if you're a Christian, read that one too. And then let's see what Lawrence G. Bolt has to say in the Zen and the Art of Making a Living. I love, if my sister watches this, I love you, I love Jesus, but I hope you'll forgive me. I think sometimes it's okay to learn some things from other religions. I know possibly you have to be careful about that, but I believe that there's little that is wrong with inculcating some of the principles of another religion in the effort to get closer to whatever God really is like. Think of your purpose in life as your message. Every life has something to say. Find the voice, the message of your life. Ask yourself, why has this character made his entrance? What is the purpose of the action of her life? In a well-staged play, there is no thing or action without purpose. Every word, movement, lighting, effect, costume, prop, or its absence delivers a message. What is the message you want an audience of 6 billion, which was the population at the time this was written? We've gone up at least 2, I believe, since the publication of this book. What is your part in this Globe Theater? In an essay entitled The Basis of Artistic Creation and Literature, playwright Maxwell Anderson articulated several key elements that he found essential in all great plays. In his words, a play can't be written without them, or at least it can't be a success. He found that these elements applied as much to modern as to Elizabethan or ancient plays. Below, we explore a few of these elements and consider how they apply to the grand play of life. Quotes below from The Basis of Artistic Creation by Maxwell Anderson, etc. Now, if I'm boring anyone, I totally understand, but I actually did like just the tiniest bit of acting in high school and in junior college. I had a drama professor that said I could probably make a living in Hollywood as a character actor, but without meaning to sound prideful, I just felt like, okay, so I'm going to go to Hollywood, which is full of people who do not in any way think like I do. And I'm going to kiss butt and I'm going to kiss feet to get side pocket roles that possibly will make me a living. Now, if I knew what life was going to be like, I might have actually done that because at the end of the day, that's almost exactly what I've ended up doing in other industries. But I was young and I was foolish and I thought I was wise. And so I did not go. I did not try after junior college. And now I'm here. And tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in its petty pace, etc., etc., etc. So, the first element, the story of a play must be the story of what happens within the heart of a man or woman. It cannot deal primarily with external events. The external events are only symbolic of what goes on within. Yes. Hello, Sashi. Thank you for joining. And I don't expect you to stay through all of this randomness, but and hello, Thade. I am so proud to be your co-host, and I hope to heck that I end up being helpful to your channel as you have been to mine. So thank you so much. I can't sleep. And as far as going into the hive of scum and villainy, I'm sure, well, hello, JPRPH. Thank you very much for the prayers. I don't mean to sound needy, but yes, I could use them, and I know we all can. We all have our challenges. I'm sure Sashi, just as an example, could probably, I'm sure that Sashi has challenges, Thade has challenges, JPRPH, I'm sure you do as well. But I'm being a little bit needy and weird tonight. And by all means, since you guys are here, feel free to guide me in a different direction. But at the moment, I am reading or at least vaguely discussing what I am learning from Zen and the art of making a living. Because, at the youthful age of 52, I'm thinking maybe for a change, instead of just chasing a buck, maybe I should try to figure out what my calling is, if such a thing exists. I'm absolutely okay. Like Thade, I respectfully think that maybe you don't believe in a calling, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth. I'm just saying that I respect that we all may have differences in opinion on this, but I would love, I don't know if it's possible, but I would love to be doing something that actually uses my better talents, my deeper beliefs. And I feel like I've just, for lack of a better term, just prostituted myself out just because I've been poor so long and poor, pitiful me. But no, I, I'm doing now what I should have done 30 or 40 or 30 years ago. I'm looking through this book. I'm trying to figure out, other people are actually very practical and very intuitive. And I have never been any of those things. I've always been a book person. I always go to a book. And if I can't find the answer in the book, then I don't have a freaking clue what the answer is. And that is a character flaw of mine. But anyway, here I am. But feel free I'll be up for a little bit because I'm anxious. And feel free to say in the chat where you would rather the discussion go. But for now, this is where I'm at. The story of a play must be the story of what happens. Oh, Sashi Zen, huh? I could help you with that. Oh, we're all about Zen. It's the only way we can move. You know, and again, I hope my sister doesn't watch this because she's a very devout Christian. She's one of those rare Christians who actually believes what they say and kind of does what they believe in. But I am a little more eclectic. I think that if you can get something out of Zen, then why not? If you get closer to God, if there's a God, and forgive me, Leanne, I know I say that mainly because I know there are people who don't believe, and I love them too, and I don't want to alienate them too. But yeah, teach me about Zen if you would like, because most all I know about it comes from YouTube videos from Alan Watts, and I'm sure that's better than nothing, but possibly not much better. My other experience with Buddhism um, are the messages of, I hope I pronounce this right. It helps to have a sense of, yes, you are not wrong, Sashi. Having a sense of humor helps. And most nights I can laugh at myself. I can laugh at my melodramatic silliness. Tonight I'm just having a little bit of trouble with that, but you know what? You are helping me to laugh at myself. But yes, Alan Watts, Zen, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He's a Vietnamese Buddhist priest named Thich Nhat Hanh. I hope I have got that right. And I have a book of his called Jesus and Buddha as Brothers. And again, my sister, God, I love you, Liam. Please forgive me, but I can't help but think that if there's any truth to any of this stuff, I believe that we have to at least be open to the thought that God has talked to other people. And I don't believe that it is horrible to say that maybe God spoke to the respectfully to the Asian people through Buddha. Possibly I'm wrong. Yes, and that's true too, Sashi. I have read that and I believe that, and it's one of the reasons why I'm willing to embrace at least certain elements of Buddhism. Not that I'm a great scholar of it in any way, Sashi. I'm sure that my understanding of it is shallow compared to yours, but yeah, I know that it's more of a maybe. Hopefully, this isn't disrespectful, but it's more of a philosophy of life. It's a guide to how to live a better life. What I probably ought to do tonight. There have been times when I've just put like an audio book of the Dhammapada, and then again, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it, my bad American slang, but there have been times when I've just put on the Dhammapada and listened to it and fallen asleep. And honestly, that's probably what I should do tonight instead of going live. But man, my computer went down recently and I felt like I had lost a freaking arm. And now that I've got it back, I feel like I need to, I don't know. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I need to connect to the community. I need to try to make something, and hopefully it's worth listening to. My bad if it's not, but God, God, Buddha, whoever, Jesus, Allah, somebody bless you. Cthulhu, bless you for being on here and listening to the ramblings of a sad and tired old man. So So the story of a play must be the story of what happens. This is the poetic sense of life. External events are symbolic of what goes on within. To be authentic, the play or action of your life must come from within, must flow from your heart. The spiritual or inner life cannot be separated from work, which is exactly what I've done all my life. My work has been drastically separated from what's in my heart. And I think that's part of why I often do amazing, but then still end up failing at whatever job I've got, because in my heart of hearts, I'm really not doing what I was meant to do. But the spiritual life cannot be separated from work or from anything else for that matter. All action is self reflecting. And Sashi is saying most Western discussion is on karma. Dharma is rarely brought up. Dharma is the righteous path. And I think that I have heard that both from, though I'm grateful that you remind me, because a lot of my background is still Christian, and I don't want to denigrate that or say that that's bad. I just think that it's okay to learn from the West. One of my heroes is Thomas Merton, and I don't know if anyone in here knows who that is, but he was a Catholic priest from the 50s and 60s who was very creative, but he was a monk. He was a Trappist monk in a monastery. And so he had this intense conflict of both trying, basically, he was a naturally creative person, but he was trying to submit that creativity to his God and his Catholicism as he understood it. The whole reason I'm bringing him up is he was actually very interested in Asian traditions. And because of that, some people branded him as a heretic, which I do not agree with that, but there are many who did. And he meditated with many, I believe he meditated with Thich Nhat Hanh, and I know he meditated with the Dalai Lama. And he believed that, absolutely revere the Christian traditions, believe in the Christian God, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with learning from the Buddhists what they know about God. And again, I'm not trying to convince anyone to be Christian, to be Buddhist. That's not my intent here. I'm just basically thinking out loud and crying out in the dark to a God that I hope is there. And if he's not, then Buddhism actually, to me, does offer a profound way. And I forgive me, I've read, but I've not intensely studied. So I know there's the Eightfold Path, and but sadly, because I'm a idiotic Westerner, I can't remember what that path is. So you see how shallow my studying has actually been. But I like Thich Nhat Hanh's idea. If I ever run away to a Buddhist monastery, I'm going to go to Plum Village, which was forgive me, I'm a Westerner, so I'm forgetting the term, but it's rare in life, Sashi says, to end up where you plan to be early in life. It's best to make the best of things wherever you end up. And that is 100% true. I hope I've done better as I've grown older, but I will admit that there are many who have done significantly better than I have with all of this stuff, whether you're talking spiritual, material, whether you're talking about jobs or religions or calling. But I am where I am now. And so the best thing I can do is not to whine about where I've been or how life's been hard or this and that should have gone differently. I need to simply look at where I'm at and evaluate the where honest mistakes of mine have caused me to be here and where life has just simply happened. Remember, Sashi says, remember to learn some kind of martial arts if you end up in a Buddhist monastery. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. So you would not know it to look at me now, but when I was young, I was in karate for a while. I was in Aikido for a while, and honestly, at the risk of alienating everybody, Aikido is the martial art that I most feel an affinity with. And I know there's people who hate Aikido. I don't mean to alienate anyone, but that's kind of where I've been at. Life happened. I don't want to get too deeply into it. I studied for some years. I got to where I was almost good enough to fight my way out of a wet paper bag. But I allowed life to happen. And so I haven't studied the martial arts in at least 25 years. And I'm frankly ashamed of that. My uncle, Sashi says, my uncle went to a Buddhist monastery and learned Muay Thai. Oh my God, that's awesome. He later he later became a bouncer at a nightclub. Now, I don't know that I will ever be tough enough to be a bouncer or to actually study Muay Thai, but I I take my Abraham Lincoln hat off to you. That is amazing. I my understanding of the martial arts is shallow and Western, but I gotta tell you, I still do love the martial arts. There are times when I look up, this is gonna sound so stupid, but there are times when I look up videos of Morihei Ueshiba or um, I hope I got his name right, Gaichin Funakoshi, or how, or heck, even Bruce Lee. I mean, I don't mean to be silly. It's okay, Sashi, if you scorn me as a dumbass Westerner, but no, in spite of the fact that I allowed it to slip out of my life, I have a profound love and respect for the martial arts. I I do not doubt that if I had somehow continued to practice, there are aspects of my life that would have been better. Sashi, my uncle went to a Buddhist monastery and learned Muay Thai. Oh, yeah, I've already read that. But I do have a friend. I have two friends who have black belts in Aikido. If I lived closer to them, like even just maybe 30 minutes closer, I would probably go back. And even though I'm old and clumsy and out of shape, I would probably go back to studying. I would so love to do that. And no, Sashi, I don't know what your martial arts experience is. I do not doubt that you're profoundly better than I ever was, and that's okay. We all just do the best we can. But no, I still do. I still do love the martial arts, but evidently not enough to do it. That's my bad. Um, Character flaw number 329. So let's see. The play is the thing wherein to catch the conscience of the king. To be authentic, the play or action of your life must come from within, must flow from your heart. The spiritual or inner life cannot be separated from work. All action is self-reflecting. The second point is the story of a play must be a conflict, and specifically a conflict between the forces of good and evil within a single individual. This inner conflict gives your life its drama and creative tension. The good of your best self is engaged in an ongoing conflict with evil of settling for less. In the great plays, Anderson notes that ultimately the forces of good must win, or evil must fail. This does not mean there are not setbacks or failings along the way. And Sashi is saying, my mother's side of the family had a lot of martial arts. That's fantastic. Uncles learned Muay Thai and karate. Wonderful. My mom was a staff practitioner. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to admit my ignorance in Kalari. Kalari is an ancient South Indian art. I must admit my ignorance there, but honestly, that still sounds awesome. Man, you're making me want to go do a kata or practice with my bokken or do something. Man, this is such good stuff. You guys are better to me than I am to you. The third point, indeed, as Anderson puts it, the protagonist of a play cannot be a perfect person. If he were, he could not improve, and he must come out at the end of the play a more admirable human being than he went in. Surely all of us hope to come out of this play of life more admirable people for having lived it. It is not that the protagonist never falls, but that each time he does, he rises again, now stronger, now truer. And Sashi is saying, I couldn't learn anything because my dad was transferred around because he wouldn't take a bribe. I'm so sorry. Kalari was said to be the basis of Shaolin Kung Fu. That's fantastic. So, again, don't exaggerate what I'm about to say. Please understand that my studies were not enough and were very shallow. And if somebody challenged me, I would probably just end up, in a bad place. But I've studied just a little bit of karate. Help an old man out. I'm getting old, but the karate that was taught by Gaichin Funakoshi. I studied just a little bit of Aikido, and I studied just a tiny bit of Kaijutsukai Kung Fu. Again, having said that, I basically went from being a terribly clumsy person to being able to fight my way out of a very wet paper bag. But I did love it. I'm kind of like the Kung Fu Panda, even though it didn't look like I had any talent. I love Kung Fu! I'm being lame. I hope this doesn't come across as disrespectful. But no, I do. I've loved the martial arts since I was a child, but I only studied it for a few years. And it's my bad, it's my character flaw that I did not keep that up. Excellence on the stage is always moral excellence. A struggle on the part of the hero to better his material circumstances is of no interest unless his character is somehow tried in the fire, unless he comes out of the trial a better man. And hello, Matt Cheatwood. I am pointlessly doing a very random live stream talking partly about martial arts, although Sashi in the chat is actually a lot more knowledgeable about the martial arts than I am, and doing some readings and commentary on the book Zen and the Art of Making a Living. Best kind, yes. I'm having trouble sleeping, which almost never happens. Reference back to having chronic fatigue syndrome. But tonight, I'm stressed and I'm worried. And so I'm just kind of reaching out to the community and trying to pretend like I've got something entertaining to say. Sashi says, karate and Aikido was brought to Malaysia by a World War II veteran. My uncle learned from him and became a grandmaster. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. He passed away a few years ago. I am sorry for the loss. Matt Cheatwood, I have not read the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I know that this book references that, and so I don't doubt that it's something I need to read. And Matt, I know I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know you have, shall we say, untraditional religious views, but at the same time, you have gone through that effort of trying to understand what at least many of the religions believe. So, salute to you. I'm always happy to talk to you, even if there's some times when I don't agree with you. I know that you're incredibly intelligent and you've done your damnedest to be informed about as many things as you can. So thank you very much for being here as I try to calm myself down and connect to the people. Matt Cheatwood, I strive to be a searcher after the truth, and I know that that's true. That's why I love talking to you, because again, even when we don't agree, I know that we're both looking really for the same thing. We want to know the truth. And I think that's awesome. I wish more people on all across the spectrum, I wish more people were like that. They believe more in trying to find the truth than in trying to push some agenda or some ideology. I know my ideologies have changed over time, and I hope they've come closer to the truth. Maybe not. Absolutely, Matt Cheatwood. We both know we can disagree without damaging our friendships. It's another thing I love about you. You know, you're very strong on your views. You're very passionate. You're very, you're not like a pushover in any way. But yet you can still respect someone who disagrees with you as long as they're not like completely silly about the facts that they're basing it on. Sashi says, I didn't study Zen in the beginning, but had to adopt it later on when I was building models. Interesting. It helps to apply Zen to life and work. And again, at the risk of offending my Christian friends, I agree. I don't know that I'm going to become a Zen Buddhist, but I think that there are a lot of things that I'm learning from pursuing, those thoughts. Sashi says people who disagree can be friends. Who would have thought? And on that point, I've been finding a lot of my friendships very strained because I don't quite really fit with any of the political ideologies. I take a little bit from this one and from that one, and sometimes it gets very strained because I've found that even some of my best friends, God, if any of you listen to this, I'm not meaning to be offensive. I would rather that you just ignore this whole damn thing than get mad at it. But I've found that more and more we're becoming a society where if you don't vote D or if you don't vote R, then you're the enemy, you're the bad person. And look, I think that there are profound and horrible and dangerous flaws in both parties. And I am scared to death what's going to happen to this country if we don't figure something out. But I also believe that we have to be very careful about deciding that tribalism at its worst. That's right, Matt Cheatwood. We have to be careful. And I know you know this. Matt already knows this very well. But if somebody votes D, instead of concentrating on, well, they voted for Biden. Oh my God. And don't get me wrong, I despise Biden, but I'm not trying to convince anybody to vote differently. What I would rather focus on is what do I agree with this person about? Tribalism at its best, Matt Cheatwood says, is people taking care of each other, and that's 100%. That's 100% right. Sashi says it's best to not argue. I can click on these things. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm tired and sad. That's what's wrong with me. It's best to not argue with idiocy. People who espouse it will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. Yeah, no, I want to be a little careful here again, just in case one of my friends listens to this. I have a friend who's gotten very strongly, in my opinion, down one of the political spectrums. And mostly that's okay, but sometimes it gets painfully difficult to talk to them because it's like they buy the party line, and I don't know how to tell them this, but I feel like the party lines of both parties, let me stress that, of both parties, it's been, I don't even know how long, 20, 30 years since either of the parties cared about us. Matt Cheatwood says, I like deleted scenes take on it. Laugh at those who are ridiculous. If they can't tolerate being laughed at, there's no use talking. And, that's right too. Um, I'm not perfect about it, but I've tried to cultivate that you know, I'm not saying I don't care, but I don't care much if somebody laughs at me because I realize that my thoughts are just as likely to be ridiculous as anybody else's. And the best thing that I can do is either laugh with them, or if I don't have the depth of character to do that, then examine, well, where are they right? And where they're right, I need to make some adjustments. Where they're wrong, well, that's on them. Matt Cheatwood, personally, I cannot accept the contradiction in the positions of the two big parties. I agree. I totally agree with that. And it begs the question. Sometimes I wonder what can be done about it. I don't mean to be offensive here, but I've grown to believe that voting alone, and I want to be a little bit careful here. I don't want YouTube to think I'm saying something that I frankly am not, although I empathize with people who would say it 100%. But I don't think voting alone is going to get us out of this situation. I know I have to be careful of YouTube's censoring me, but I think that it's gotten too easy for both parties to manipulate the media, to manipulate social media. What's everybody saying? Sashi says, what you're experiencing is what we down here already have. I'm so sorry. That's why I hope you don't go down our path. Politics is all about dividing people these days. Only politicians profit. And Matt Cheatwood says, yes, I get this. One of the many reasons I call myself a libertarian is the internal consistency. If it infringes on liberty, I am against it. And while I'm probably not as far down the road as you are, Matt, that's if I'm forced to take a label, that's the one I'm going to pick. Again, I probably don't agree with it perfectly, but I do, as you say, I love the internal consistency. And I do believe that, at least in America, I mean, I think we're still America. I would think that liberty would be one of the strongest things that we should consider as a central premise. And yes, Matt's asking if Sashi is from Australia, and Sashi is from Malaysia. I did not know that. I knew you were from Asia, but I did not know you were from Malaysia. That's cool. Matt says, just keep learning and examining your positions over time. Yeah, 100%. I dug up one of my old Ron Paul books. I don't know when I'm going to have the time, or if I'm going to have the time to reread it. But and again, I don't agree 100% with libertarianism or with Ron Paul, but it does seem to be the ideology that comes closest to where I'm at. If I'm going to take something as quote unquote gospel truth, it does seem like libertarian is the best litmus test we can have. Yes, Matt Cheatwood says Rand Paul and Ayn Rand are hardcore libertarians, and that is true. I actually loved when I would listen to or read Ron Paul's analysis of Ayn Rand, because Ron Paul was still Christian, but I think other than that, his agreement with Ayn Rand was almost, I mean, it was very strong. And without meaning to get into the religion, I do think that Ayn Rand's beliefs absolutely need to be examined and read. I haven't read the book that you gave me, not yet, but I have read Atlas Shrugged, and at the risk of offending lots of my friends, I actually loved that book. Even when I disagreed with her, I felt like she still told a beautiful story, and most of her characters were well written. So, on a literary aspect, I liked it. And then, like I say, I probably did agree with probably say 80% of what she said. Sashi, best to always step back once in a while. Oh no, 100% true. And examine your choices. Make corrections whenever needed. A lot of people get lost in their beliefs. Matt Cheatwood and I both. Truth at Sashi. That is 100% true. It's one of the things I'm trying to do with this book is I'm trying to examine my beliefs. And again, I'm not saying that I'm going to become a Buddhist tomorrow. Although I also want to show respect to Buddhists, and I'm not going to say that they're all headed this way. Yeah, I'm not smart enough to know that. I'm not God, but I just feel led to read this book, to examine my life, to try to get it more on track. And don't get me wrong, I'm really in many ways in some of the best places in my life, but there's still so much room for improvement on so many levels. Excellence on the stage is always moral excellence. A struggle on the part of the hero is of no interest unless his character is tried in the fire. This moral excellence gives the character a heroic quality. A hero is, in the words of Joseph Campbell, someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself. Sashi says Buddhists are generally chill. That's been my very limited experience. I doubt they would judge you. And yeah, I mean, when I listen to Alan Watts or read Jesus and Buddha as brothers, or the parts of the Dalai Lama's, some of the Dalai Lama's stuff that I've read, I don't get the impression that Buddha is out there just trying to slam me on the head for not, being a perfect Buddhist. I wish I had studied the Dhammapada a little bit better, because there are neurons firing. I feel like there's something I ought to say, but I can't quite think of what it is. Something about you're a true bhikshu. What is it? You're a true bhikshu, not if you wear the robe, but I can't remember. My apologies. Again, I need to study a lot of these things so much more closely. A hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself. This is what makes a character interesting. This is why we root for him. Heroic action can come from any of us. In Campbell's words, when we stop thinking primarily about ourselves and our own self-preservation, we undergo a truly heroic transformation of consciousness. In this transformation, we take on not only the hero's character, but his voice. A weak, selfish character has a halting, confused, or muddled voice. And that hits hard right there. While a strong, heroic character speaks with dignity, assurance, and upliftment. Moral excellence rings through his voice. And Matt Cheatwood is saying, I have found myself moving away from pacifism lately. Aggression must be not only condemned, but met with equal or superior force. And I'm sure I have friends who would disagree with that, but in spite of the fact that I realize I likely sound lame because I'm not the most aggressive person in the world, but I believe you are right. Here the other day, I had thought, because again, I'm floundering, trying to figure out what to do with this channel, trying to figure out what the niche is, what the best way to operate is. And I love reading poetry. I love reading stuff. Maybe lame, but that's what I love to do. And I was thinking about reading Patrick Henry's "Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death" speech. And I read it to one of my friends. And again, if he listens to this, I hope he's not offended. But if he is, I guess I have to deal with that. But he was absolutely against me reading it, and part of his reasoning is correct. Frankly, you and I both know that likely YouTube would just censor it. Sashi says a friend quoted about the Buddhist belief that holding on to a grudge is like holding on to a hot coal in your palm. I said Buddha didn't have access to heat resistant gloves at the time. And yes, that Cheatwood, that's actually great. That is a great way to look at it. Um, the valid point my friend made was that likely YouTube would just censor it. I am almost certain that unless I prefaced that quote with "this is for educational purposes only" and does not necessarily, although it mostly does not necessarily express the views of the channel. Otherwise, likely YouTube would just cancel that and say I was threatening people. That didn't bother me. That part of the analysis, that's practical, that's probably smart. I don't mind that. The part of his analysis, and hopefully he doesn't feel like I'm betraying him by sharing this, but he was saying that there were dangerous views in that speech and that it had taken years for us to get over the violence that it inspired. And I'll be honest, I was baffled. I didn't know how to respond to him. I'm not saying that we have to agree with absolutely everything that the founding fathers said, but I I do feel like they're about as close to the litmus test of what we should be believing as you can get, at least from the last couple of 100 years. And basically, what I'm hearing when my friend says this is that the revolution was wrong. We should not have fought it. And I don't agree. Likely I'm wrong. But I do think that it was a good thing. I think we should have fought it. Were the founding fathers flawed? Yes. Was everybody who fought the revolution a saint? Absolutely not. But let's see what Matt says. I like the tit for tat strategy from the prisoner's dilemma of game theory. Start nice, respond with the same thing you are giving, forgive but never forget. Yeah, game theory. I've studied it shallowly, but I am a fan of it. I really am. I likely need to practice it much more often. But I do agree that on one hand, I don't doubt that I should be a little more strong in my stances, that I should probably, be more of a man. That's probably true. But at the end of the day, I do also think that, you'll rarely change someone's mind by being rude or anything like that. And I'm not saying that you're being rude. I'm just saying that in the back of my mind, that's usually what I'm thinking. Uh, I'm not going to win this person over by being offensive to them and just denigrating everything that they say. So again, if my friend listens to this, I'm not meaning to be disrespectful. I'm just voicing out loud that I don't understand. Maybe I just totally misunderstand what was said, but I don't know how, like if Sashi wants to say that the revolution was a big pile of crap, I'm actually willing to listen to him. He's not an American, with respect. But I don't know how you can be an American and love America and yet think that the revolution was a bad thing. Yeah, and that's true too, Matt Cheatwood. You can never know what will offend people until you say or do it. And I have learned that, you know, in spite of my overcaution, I often find myself offending people anyway. And sometimes I feel like, well, that's just, you know, that's that person's bad. And sometimes I'm like, well, you know, if I was going to offend them anyway, I might as well at least said what I really think. So I'm trying hard to find that balance. Um, Maybe I'm getting there. I hope I am. Let's see. To find your part, don't exaggerate, deny, or minimize your importance. Many people fall into patterns that limit their capacity to recognize their part in the play of life. There are those who exaggerate their importance in the overall scheme of things. There are those who deny that they have any effect on the world. Still others admit their effect but minimize their abilities, which is probably where I fall in. Any of these extremes impedes the process of discovering your purpose or part in the play of life. From here on, we will use the terms purpose and part interchangeably. Matt Cheatwood, personally, I don't have much respect, and I'm with you on this, for people that weaponize their offended, fragile feelings. And I hope, Matt, and I hope that maybe that's one of the reasons why we're friends. I hope you understand that while I may have these goofball, fragile feelings, I think it's just the height of to me it's just the height of passive aggressiveness to weaponize that or try to hold over. Well, I ain't offended, you know. If I have fragile feelings, and I do, that's my bad though. That's my problem. That's not Matt Cheatwood's problem. That's mine. So, in spite of the fact that my progress with it has not really been great, I have really tried to work on that through the years. That just because I'm offended or just because my feelings are hurt, that doesn't mean that necessarily the other person is wrong. They may be, but and you and everyone else have the liberty to be offended and to be offensive. Yeah, that's right. We've talked about that. We both believe in very nearly absolute freedom of speech, but we also believe that you will suffer the consequences. I mean, if you speak certain things, then if you offend tons of people, then you will end up having to bear the responsibility. And so, and I believe that. Yeah, exactly correct. I believe that too. Um, let's see. It's easy to exaggerate our importance in the overall scheme of things. Many are blocked from tapping into their purpose in life by their insistence that it come with a personalized name tag. They expect the sky to open and a deep bass voice from on high to say, "Well, my son or daughter, this is your purpose. Choirs of angels, lightning, and thunder are optional, but the bass voice is a must." And I got to tell you, I always wanted, I wanted that burning bush. I wanted that voice from God. I never got it. So, take that however you want. I never got it. Sashi says it's like making a sword. You beat the crap out of impurities to make it stronger. That is true. That is true. There's two quotes in here. Jean de la Breyer, who I do not know. But the quote is, "It's motive alone that gives character to the actions of men." And Reginald Blythe, "The importance and unimportance of the self cannot be exaggerated." Don't over-personalize. Great purposes are not individual. They have historical continuity. They were begun before you and will continue after you. Rome was not built in a day, neither was science, art, or culture. We stand on the shoulders of those who have come before and owe our best to those who will follow. No great purpose relies upon any single individual. It is always a group effort. This may be a little difficult for our egos to accept, but it will make finding our purpose less difficult. And oh, that ego. I mean, the thing is, I've learned the hard way that there is a purpose to it. I'm not spiritual enough to just totally let it go. But yeah, it can be a bitch. He also quotes Matthew 7:20, which I love. It's a book about Zen, but he quotes the Bible too. "Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them." Many deny that there is any purpose or message to what they do. For example, some screenwriters, playwrights, and authors claim that there is no purpose or point to their work, beyond, of course, making the money. It's just a movie, a play, a book. And yes, Matt Cheatwood, amen, absolutely. And I whether you're talking about Sashi or the book, I like it. Yeah, the book has no message. Of course, this is silly. Everything we do is a message, a communication. Every action has a message in the way that every musical note has a sound. There are no soundless notes any more than there are meaningless actions or characters. Every message has a tone, creating ripples that uplift or diminish life. The, think of the Zen gardens. The careful attention given to the placement of each object speaks to us. It says everything counts. Where any purpose is denied, look for dollar signs, a sense of life as a commodity. Underlying so much of the work of the 20th century is this notion that life is a cheap commodity. And yes, I understand we're in the 21st century, but the book was written in the 20th. And I am still very much a child of the 20th century. So there it is. Human beings should feel lucky if they're employed, never mind at what. Animal life is to be exploited as long as profitable and exterminated when it gets in the way. Water, which scientists claim is the origin of life, is for washing away our messes. Air is the dumping ground for toxic gases and particulate matter. Land is to be cleared, stripped, rented, and cemented. Ah, something I'd like to discuss, Matt Cheatwood, is improving the structure of American government to make it more resistant to corruption and manipulation. That, while I may be too tired tonight to do a thorough or adequate examination of it, that is actually something that needs to be discussed. I know right now, anyway, yeah, that would be great. Do you want to come online? Not tonight necessarily, but do you want to come online and talk about that sometime soon? Or if not, I'll be happy to make that the topic of a live stream fairly soon. I have friends. Yeah, no. Yeah, I did not mean just tonight. I mean whenever I get the chance. Yeah, not wrong. I have a friend who thinks that, and I'm just throwing this out here, that instead of voting, that uh, positions should actually, and I will forgive you if you think this is crazy. I'm just throwing his thoughts out here because I've been trying to decide myself what I think of it. But he feels that instead of voting, we should actually have people chosen from the citizenry at random. On one hand, I think it's dangerous, but on the other hand, I don't know if it would be that much worse than what we're doing right now. I mean, our votes have been putting in some pretty crappy people. Um, Roman style, yes, Matt Cheatwood, 100%. Uh, the other thing that he proposes, and I think this is an interesting thought, that basically, if you're randomly chosen and choose to accept the position, I think he did allow for you to basically say, no, I don't want that. But he felt that your assets should be frozen. You should be paid a salary, but you should have to live off of that salary while you're in that office. And your assets should be frozen otherwise and indexed to the economy as it grows or shrinks through your administration. I don't know if I agree with it, but it's an intriguing thought. Basically, if you grow the economy, then you grow with it. And if you don't, well, you have to suffer just like everybody else. I think it's an interesting thought. I don't know if it's practicable because I don't know of anyone. But then if people aren't running for office, which is a big part of the problem, um, I frankly, I've had friends tell me that this is a dangerous thought, but I frankly think that the founding fathers were brilliant and that we're foolish for undermining the way the president was supposed to be elected. We weren't supposed to elect a president. There wasn't supposed to be presidential campaigns. We were supposed to elect electors who were to go to Washington and deliberate and decide who the best person was. And we haven't done that since Andrew Jackson. Uh, I think the last president that was actually elected that way was John Quincy Adams. Matt Cheatwood, interesting thought. First weakness I see is corruption of the random selection process. Yeah, it's probably not wrong. And Sashi says resistant to corruption and manipulation. Then how do politicians get to profit? Yeah, so it's a can of worms. Becoming a politician was supposed to be a duty, not a career. 100%. And Matt Cheatwood. Oh man, Andrew Jackson, the first Trump. Well, the funny thing is, this friend that I'm borrowing these ideas from, and God help me, I hope if he listens, I hope he knows I respect the hell out of him. So I'm not saying this to mock him, but one of his favorite presidents actually is Andrew Jackson. But I get what you're saying, Matt Cheatwood. He really was the president. I mean, there were parties before, but he's basically the one, for good or ill, who solidified the party process. And again, I don't want to necessarily, attack or the guy's character or anything, but this is where we get Democrats from. And, it can be argued, and I think it can be justifiably argued, that Martin Van Buren was actually more of the dangerous person that solidified the way parties are done. But it was Andrew Jackson that got the ball rolling. May not have been his intent, but he definitely ran on a populist style. Basically, we want democracy, we want the rule of the majority. At least to my possibly uneducated thoughts, that seems to be where he went. Let's see. Matt Chewood. Jackson was a man of the people, crude, vulgar, and not part of the existing elite. And that's true. I remember reading Emerson, I think, thought he was dangerous. And that, being such a man of the people was just too much. I love a lot of the things Emerson says, but I don't know that he's not right on everything. And exactly, for good or ill, Trump at least tries to present himself as a man of the people. Whether he really is or not, I know is debatable. But that's what he has attempted to show himself as. And frankly, if he gets elected again, it'll largely be on the strength of that. Also, on the strength of people's outrage for things that, the other week I started to show that interview that you shared with me about Weinstein, and I didn't get very far into it. And that's at least partly my bad. I was so thrilled, but also so overwhelmed with the number of people in the chat. I wanted to get to the part where Weinstein talked about how Biden is just demonstrably not capable of governing, of being the president of this country. Oh yeah, you were there. That's right. Yeah, you're there. And you were right. You were right. I need to stay more focused. But in this case, I'm willing to let the chat kind of flow because I'm really just on here I'm on here for selfish reasons. I'm on here to alleviate my own anxiety and to kind of calm myself. And so I'm quite happy to talk about what the chat wants to talk about, since there really wasn't any other purpose. I don't know if I want to try to make it to midnight or not, though that is my shtick. But I doubt that I go much further than midnight because I'm wearing out fast, which is both good and bad. Sashi says, second prime minister had some socialist in his cabinet. Our government became better because of some of the policies. When he passed away, those people were arrested because corruption couldn't prosper. Wow, I don't even know what to say to that. Matt Cheatwood says 5 are watching. Yeah, yes, please. Whoever's out there, don't feel shy. I'm, part of the reason why I chose the moniker of Tired Midnight Blogger. Mainly it's very adequately self-descriptive, but also I don't want people to think that I'm this standoffish person that thinks he knows everything. By all means, come in the chat, say something. I'm probably going to leave here in about 18 or 20 minutes. But if anyone has a last minute thing that they'd like to talk about, I'd be happy to bring something up. I wish I had done a better job with that Weinstein interview. And all wants to talk about Harvey Weinstein, about whom I really don't care. Brett. Brett Weinstein. Can Western civilization be saved? That's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know. And you guys can't see this, so let me get back to the stream. Brett, yes, thank you. Present. I'm going to share the screen. Share the screen. Brett Weinstein interview. Let's see if I can find it. What was that guy's name? Scott? I know Brett Weinstein used to have a podcast. I have not listened to any of those. But Brett Weinstein tells Tucker. What I loved about it is he's very intelligent. He backs up most of what he talks about. And his views, I mean, he's not changing to a conservative, but he is changing his views where he sees them to be incorrect. I doubt anyone knows everything. We all basically have a bucket full of sand and a beach full of stuff. Impact theory. Tom Bill something. Tom Bill. America collapsing like Rome. How evolution explains our society. Brett Weinstein humiliated on his own podcast. That might be titillating, but I don't have time for it. Break free from the Matrix. That looks interesting. How to save the Republic. Crap. We need a scientific revolution. Okay, here we go. Let's watch this. If y'all have the patience for it. Not quite what we were going to talk about, but I think this is valid, and we'll watch the whole thing. But let's watch a little bit of Joe Rogan, why Brett Weinstein is concerned about the migrant crisis.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Okay, getting back to the chat, I don't want to just make this about watching the video, although I was being fascinated by it, but he does make some of the same points here. Not exactly the ones I was wanting to share, but salient points. Sashi here. When Trump was in office, China stopped the economic takeover of countries in the region because he was unpredictable. I'm not a supporter of his, and frankly, neither am I. I'm not sharing this to persuade people to vote for Trump. I'm sharing this because I think that there's truth here that we need to be looking at. Sashi's not a supporter of his, but it was surprising. And Matt Cheatwood says, I think he wouldn't find the hostilities so surprising if he knew about China's little emperors. Now, I'm going to have to plead in ignorance here. I might understand once you say something and the neuron gets fired, but right now I'm not sure. Does that mean like members of the Communist Party? I'm not sure, but I do know that I want to be careful here. I don't want to sound racist. I don't want to say that China's altogether evil and America's altogether good. I'm not trying to oversimplify things, but I can't imagine that whatever's happening now with the international community, and I mean, Weinstein says it. This is not me. This is him and others. The international community is paying for this and inspiring this. And I cannot believe that it's for the good of anybody that I love or care about. Matt Cheatwood says the one child policy led to an overwhelming number of families that have only a single male child, and that's right. Weinstein talked about that in that interview that I was hoping to find. Those children have been treated like little gods their entire lives. They have little to no self-control. I hadn't even thought about that, but I don't doubt that you're right. I know I had written a little bit about I'm probably mispronouncing this, but the Bailan movement, basically the let it rot movement. I know that there's a lot of discontent with the younger Chinese, much like many of us in America. They were told that there was a path to success, and if you do this, you will succeed. And then now they can't afford to be married, can't afford a house. Does that sound familiar to anybody that's under 30 or 40? Matt says, I have seen multiple videos out of China of them acting like little monsters and their parents supporting them. Oh, that's scary. Sashi, also, I can vouch for some Ukrainians being racist because my cousin went there to study and she came back in 2 weeks because she was threatened with harm. That happened in the early 2000s. I'm so sorry about that, Sashi. I, again, without meaning to oversimplify, I find myself, if I speak too plainly about what I think about the war in Ukraine, I often alienate friends on both sides of the aisle. It's not that I want Ukrainians to suffer or die. Matt Cheatwood, he says there's no social security or retirement system in China, which that's interesting. Nobody ever points that out, but I believe you are correct. A family's sons are supposed to care for their elderly parents once they can no longer work. That's, to my understanding, that's correct. And their society, and again, America is if it's any better, it doesn't seem to be much better anymore. But these people were told a path to success, and they worked on that path, and now there's nothing. They can't afford a home. They can't find a wife. They can't afford to take care of themselves, let alone their parents. They feel like failures. And, on some level, there's also, the whole, well, stop whining and get it done. There's some validity to that. I know that's not what you're saying, but I'm just saying that if someone's out there thinking that, I don't want to completely naysay that. But I also feel like several societies have set their youth up for failure. I think China is one of them. And to be honest, I think as much as I love my country, I think the modern United States has been doing that. I would say for 20 years at least. But it is getting late and I'm getting tired, although I'm loving the discussion, and I hope everyone's learning a little something, hopefully being a little bit entertained. I appreciate everyone who's been here. Let me go back through the chat and make sure that I thank everyone that I at least saw. Love to thank Sashi and for all of your insights and your respect. Hello, Human Stayed. I am his co-host, and I am excited about that. On Saturday, we will be talking, I want to say at 9:30, about ancient civilizations, Göbekli Tepe. I always forget the names of the other places. Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe and Bonsukla Tarla. And Matt Cheatwood is actually the person who introduced me to those things to begin with. Thank you for that. Thank you, JPRPH, for being in the chat, and thank you for your prayers. I definitely need divine something right now. Thank you, Matt Cheatwood, as always. You're always a great contribution to my endeavors here. Matt Cheatwood, while we were busy trying to survive, America became an oligarchy. And Sashi, China tried to force method during the Cold War era. They sponsored forces over here. See, I am so ignorant about something. I didn't even know that. It was a war that lasted decades. Wow, how did I not know that? What was I doing? Lady Mist, God bless you. Take care, everyone, and dream sweet. I hope I do. Thank you for being here. Hello, and also goodbye. Although I will at least get through the chat here. Sashi, I don't know if China will be any better at conquest than Russia has proven to be. Yeah, it's not a bad point. So, it is midnight. I am your tired midnight blogger. What blogs at midnight? I hope we learned a little bit of something. I hope we had a little bit of entertainment. And if you got nothing else from this post, I hope that everyone knows that that I am very grateful for everyone who showed up. I know you could have spent your time watching a video, playing a game. You chose to be here, just like Netter says. And yes, Sashi, I think I will sleep very well. I may still read for a little while, but I'll be in bed soon. Sleep well, Matt, Sashi, Lady Mist. And if they're still here, sleep well, Sashi. I already said Sashi. JPRPH and Fade. Good night. And God, Cthulhu, Buddha, Jesus, whatever's out there, bless you. Thank you very much for watching.